soldier with the system called the world, but you and I are in a conflict with this other individual called self. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I wish I had a truthful, honest, believing church in here this morning. We are in conflict with ourselves. Take the halo off and put it up under the pew. Don't look at me like you don't have no conflict with yourself. Oh, okay, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm near the nation's capital. I'm near Washington, D.C. Y'all don't have everything down here. Y'all got the president up at the White House on the hill. So, okay, I got you. But let me say this. For us that live up north, we have this conflict not only with the system called the world, but with ourselves called the flesh. I don't care how saved you are. I don't care how much Holy Ghost you claim you have. I don't care how many times you speak in tongues. I don't care if you faint, fall out, flip pews, run around the church, foam at the mouth. When you get up, yourself is still there and still seeking to ruin your life. Help me, somebody. I wish I had time. Paul said, I'm in struggle with myself, and he was saved for over 30 years when he wrote Romans 7. He was saved over 30 years talking about things I said I wasn't going to do, I wound up doing. Things I said I was going to do that I didn't do. In my mind, I want to serve the law of God, but in my members, World War III is breaking out. He says, man, I can't understand this. Every time I take 3 steps forward, I take 4 steps backwards. He says, man, every time I go to pull to my right, I get a major pull to my left. He says, I'm a saint, but I got sinner problems. I'm between a push and a shove and a struggle. He cries out in desperation because he wrestles with himself. He says, oh, wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from this body of destruction? We are soldiers, and we have to fight not only a system, but ourselves. So no one go in battle with ourselves. Got to get a witness? All right, I'm going to let you go in a few minutes. It ain't time for the invocation yet. With Pastor Grossman. Listen to me. Look at what he says. He says, I'm not only a sacrifice that's prepared. I'm not only a sailor that is preparing. I'm not only a soldier that's persevering, but he also says that I am a sportsman that's prevailing. He says right here in this passage, he says right here, y'all still with me? I'm in the same verses, same verse, verse number 7. He says, I finished my course or my race. He says, you need to be a sacrifice. No question about it. That's what I was. That's what you need to be. He says, you need to be, no question about it, a sailor. That's what I was, and that's what you need to be. He says, you need to be a soldier. That's what I was, because that's what you need to be. And then he said this, you need to be a sportsman, because that's what I was, and that's what you need to be. Meaning this, I had to run in life, and in my running, you must realize and recognize there are different courses, and there are different races. He says there are times in my life when I had to do a quick sprint. But then there are other times when I have to do a marathon. I've got to pace myself. There are other times when I have to run and jump over high hurdles. But whatever course that is given to you in your life, you've got to finish your course. You've got to run your race. But in your running your race, you also must play according to the rules. Because if you don't play according to the rules, you run a risk of becoming disqualified. I wish I had time. Meaning that God will not have you, he won't give you, there'll be less usability when it comes to you. I think one of the worst things for any professional runner, whatever, sportsman, is to be able to be gifted what it is that you have and then not be able to play in the game. Lord have mercy. I think one of the most devastating things that you see, what I see on football and also particularly on basketball, when they get benched for breaking one of the rules of the game, they got to sit and watch their team members play. And they know what they bring to the table, but they ain't able, or they're not able to play in the games because of something that they did. Good God Almighty, I wish I had time. I think one of the most frustrating things in the world, I'm talking from my profession, to be a preacher and not be able to preach. To be able to be called to do what God gifted you to do, and then you not being able to use your gift because you've been benched. Woo! I don't mean no harm. And let me say this to you, all you preachers, let me say this to you. When the Lord fire you, can't nobody hire you. Y'all not with me. When he bench you, can't no other coach tell you to get in the game until he is satisfied with what it is that you have done, so that he can be satisfied with the lesson you should have learned. And when he is satisfied, then he'll put you back in the game. I don't want to get out the game. Never to be put back in the game. Again, you got to be a sportsman. Are you with me here? That is prevailing. I'm gonna give you one more, and I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna take you to one. Take up. He says. We ought to be a sacrifice. We ought to be a sailor. We ought to be a soldier. We ought to be a sportsman. And then he says this. He says, Pastor Kirk, he says, you got to be a security guard. He says it right here in the passage. He said, I fought a good fight. I kept the faith. Are you with me here? He says something real interesting here. He says that, there it is right there. He says, I finished my race, my course, and then he says this, I kept the faith. That word keep there means to guard, to be on guard. To be on guard of what? The faith, not a faith. What he's saying is, I need you to be, Timothy, because this is what I was. He says, I was a guard over the body of truth that God had entrusted to me. Okay, let me see if I can help you out. Everybody that's a Christian, you don't have to be a preacher. You can be a teacher. You can be over the missionaries. I don't care what it is that you do. God has given unto all of us some body of truth. And that body of truth, you and I have to stand guard over. We've got to protect it, because there are those who would like to take that truth, twist that truth, and make that truth something other than truth, and then call it truth, when it has been twisted and literally perverted and tainted. Paul says, I've got to guard this truth, because it's something that has been entrusted unto me. Let me say this to you, my sisters and my brothers. Everybody that got REV, bishop, apostle, doctor, whatever handle in front of their name, don't take them to be that until you hear what they have to say. And in hearing what they have to say determines whether they are who they say they are. I wish I had time. I wish I could say it in another way, but that's about as plain as I can get it. And I just need you to understand that it's so vital that we guard the truth, because there's so much stuff out here that's so contrary to the biblical blueprint laid out by the divine architect. Some stuff that's floating around in the Christian community that just, excuse my expression, it just ain't Bible. It ain't in there. It ain't in there. All this hocus pocus, spooky kind of stuff, smoke and mirrors, you know what I mean? Just deceitful. They're deceived and being deceived. And deceiving others who listen to this hocus pocus, all this kind. Everything in the Bible ain't about blessings. I don't mean no harm. Every verse ain't about blessings. I don't mean no harm. Everything in the Bible ain't about you always getting something and grabbing some stuff and getting stuff and living in the materialism, and that becomes your God after a while. And even the determining factor whether or not God is in your life, it ain't always because of the blessings that come in my life that validate his presence in my life. Sometimes he trusts me with burden. And there's some stuff that he puts me under to make me strong so that I can bear up under, so that when I come out from it, I'm better than I was when I was under it. We've got to guard the truth. Paul says in the latter days, men shall heap unto themselves fine teachers that will tickle their ear. Otherwise, make them feel good by what they say. All the time, just everything is positive. And I don't mean no harm. Some people, oh Lord have mercy. There's some issues that people do, and they always talk positive stuff and nothing negative or nothing that is challenging. Trust me, that don't mean they're preaching. No, they're just a motivational speaker where they motivate you to be positive on everything, but that ain't true in life. I'm sorry, every day ain't Sunday, and Sabbath will have no end. That's on the other side. Hey, just give me a little bit of monitor right here. I'll appreciate it. That's on the other side, where Job said the wicked will cease from troubling and the weary will be at rest. But on this side, Jesus says, in this world you shall have tribulation. I wish I had time. James says, count it all joy when you find yourself going through diverse kinds, different colors, different kinds of tribulation, knowing that the trying of your faith worketh patience, but let patience have its perfect work in you, so that when it is finished, you will be lacking nothing. Peter said, count it no strange thing when these fiery darts shall come against you. Job said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Solomon said, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. David said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy